Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I'm here in my Minecraft Beta 1.7.3 world called YouTube. And today I'm going to be mining my tree farm, first of all. And then I'm going to be building a bunch of fences to work on the wheat farm that I'm building on that side of the base. So the first thing I need is a ton of wood. I do have a lot of wood right now already. Maybe I should drop off some of these materials into a chest since I'll probably get multiple stacks and I just inventory management, is a problem in any version of Minecraft that you play. I think the advantage that beta has is it has less useless blocks, but the disadvantage that it has is it's harder to get to a chest when you don't have one right nearby. So you need to have kind of like spread out storage is the idea. I don't really have that. I just have everything, kind of chucked together. Let's see. And I'm kind of running out of space, to be honest. All right. So I think this is all that I need for now because I'm just going to be clearing out these trees with my axe and replanting them. I should take some saplings. That's right. That's what I need. Perfect. Anyway, as I mine, I think I'll talk a little bit today about what I think about a show that I watched recently, which is Mr. Beast's Beast Games on Amazon Prime. I've been watching it with my siblings recently. It's kind of the Survivor off season. We usually watch the show Survivor together, so we thought it would be kind of interesting that it would be kind of similar to the vibe that he's going for Beast Games. So we decided to watch it together, and I liked it, but I have some feedback. I think I won't go into spoilers necessarily because I don't want people that are watching it to like have to turn off this video or anything. I won't spoil who wins it or what happens at the end or anything like that. But all I'll say is like the ending I thought was really good. Like the last few episodes were really good. And I think that's mostly attributed to the fact that like there were less players. It felt like the consequences were real. Like it's kind of funny because in the early episodes you start with 1,000 people. I mean it's so crazy to start with 1,000 people, but it kind of just the early episodes are all kind of just like, oh, choose yourself to be eliminated, which sounds really dumb as I say it. It's not quite that dumb, but I did think it was kind of dumb. Like they had so many games like right in a row that was, that was the point, was like you just choose to eliminate yourself, and if you do you either get money or like your team goes on but you don't make it, and it's like, or then you have to choose one person from your team to advance onto the helicopter, and then you have to choose one person on your team to stay behind, and it's like it was so boring. Like the first episodes, they just weren't good. There wasn't, you know, there wasn't an element of fun, like competition to it. It was mostly just like either luck based or like your decision was totally out of your hands, or later on in the season that really definitely improves by a lot, and they start doing like bigger and uh, better games, to eliminate people, games that are based on skill instead of just either on pure dumb luck or like the actions of some random person that doesn't care about you. um, and so I don't know, it got good at the end in my opinion, but it was off to a rough start, to say the least. And I think, if I were designing it going forward, like the most important thing to realize is that people, they don't need the stakes to be objectively huge to like care desperately about something. Like, yes, it's an enormous amount of money. It's the biggest game show in history, but I found myself not caring, and despite these huge stakes, just because I felt like I didn't have any connection to the people, right? Yet there could be a game show like Survivor where the prize is much smaller, it's 1 million instead of 5 million. It's literally a fifth of the cost, but they do such a good job at like getting to know the characters, not just in like the games and competitions, but actually in like their day-to-day life. Like you actually see these people interact with each other, you see their personalities, you see their backstories. They get to talk to the camera one-on-one, and you can feel like you kind of make this pseudo connection through them, with them through your TV, right? Like it's very interesting, and I really like Survivor for that reason. Like you have people that you start to pick out that you're like, I like this person, I don't like this person. And I never really felt that with Beast Games until the end. Um, and I think it's kind of just a function of how many people there are, for sure, right? Like I think that like there are some things though that even if you start with 1,000 people, you could still go back and look at the end and see like the edit. You can see who's going to go super far, who's going to make it all the way, and kind of focus on like a cast of characters where a few are going to get out at the beginning, a few are going to get out in the middle, and a few are going to get out at the end. Choose the most entertaining and best people, because how it would be someone that you'd literally never seen before. They hadn't had one moment on screen, and then they're being eliminated, and everyone's like crying, and everyone's like, no, no, like don't leave us. And it's like, I don't even know who this person is. Like, why would I care about this? Why would I, Whereas if you can see, throughout time, uh, they don't need to pick just the winner, right? Like where it's like all of a sudden a spoiler because that everyone on camera is going to the end. You just got to pick some people and make the audience care about them and show how they're doing in the games in order to, increase the level of people's care that they have. Like there was one character in particular that I feel like, he did not make it to the end, but I feel like just based on his personality and everything, he would have been like a big fan favorite. And it's like, why would they not have gone back and edited some of the earlier episodes to include, more scenes of him and more of his background, when obviously like, he can bring more of an audience to the show just through his personality and character and the way that he is. So anyway, I thought it was good. Like I thought it was a fine show at the end of the day. The beginning was pretty boring. The end was great. Once you start getting to know the characters, it gets like a million billion times better, But yeah, I would say it's pretty good overall. Um, I wonder though, like I wonder if they're worried that if they start focusing on one character, that it just kind of looks like it's not objective. Like if they have a cast of 20 or 30 characters that they kind of follow throughout, that they're worried that it would look like bias towards those characters. But really, I think like what you say is after the fact, we're choosing not just characters that go to the end, but also characters that, get eliminated in entertaining ways that we can make the audience care about. You have this benefit of hindsight looking back, and then you can just edit it to follow that cast the entire time. Because, otherwise people don't care. I don't care. So I did think it was good. I think it's a crazy amount of money to give away. I guess one small spoiler, just because he posted about this on Twitter, I feel like it's okay to share. Um, the grand prize ended up being $10 million instead of $5 million. So that's a little bit of a spoiler, but like I just say that to say like it is an insane show in like the scope. Like I haven't really seen anything quite like it in terms of how much they like are actively doing all the time. And I guess that's another criticism too, is like you never get to know the characters outside of their games. Like they'll be playing a game, and right after the game, it goes to the next game. And I think they just didn't build in a lot of time to like get to know the characters or do like one-on-one interviews. In the later episodes, when there's a lot less characters, there's more of those. But they try to do them in the early episodes, and it just doesn't work because it's some random guy you've never seen. He talks for 3 seconds, and then you're never gonna see him again. And it just does not work that way. And honestly, I felt like it was okay though. It wasn't a bad show by any means. I just personally was pretty bored. I think another thing that they could do, apart from like getting to know the characters more in certain situations, is just have more um, of a social aspect to it too. Like towards the end, they like get into like, oh, these are your friends. Like we know who your friends are in this game. You have to pick your friend for this challenge or whatever. Or they automatically pair you up into friends. But we never like ever see that throughout the game. In fact, it's even like a point. It was actually hilarious because there's a point where one of the characters. I mean, this actually happens on multiple occasions. There's a point where one of the characters is accused of making alliances. Ooh. And it's like, I'm not even sure how that would benefit the character in question because there's the games, you don't really benefit that much from having an alliance. Like, if anything, it would just be kind of like a friend that you have. There's not really a lot of strategy like you can have in Survivor where numbers are everything. It's more of like, luck based and some skill based games. Most of them are individual eliminations or team eliminations that you're not necessarily going to be able to pick your team for. So, like, I don't know. If they could show more of like characters interacting, then it would mean it would it would be so much better to then go back and say, hey, uh, we are choosing our friends for this challenge, and you might be eliminated along with your friend, or only one of you can advance, or whatever they choose. It means so much more if people can actually see your interactions with that person instead of all of a sudden they're like trying to gaslight you because they pull out these clips that like they never showed earlier of like, oh, this is your best friend, look at this one time you guys were eating together, like lunch in the park. It's like it really just doesn't work. I also think the games were okay, but the beginning games they get better, but like it's kind of like I was saying already. The first, I can't even tell you, the first 3 or 4 episodes, almost every single game is just find a way to eliminate yourself or convince someone else to eliminate themselves. And so like it's interesting for one game, right? It's interesting for one game. And after that, you've already selected out all of the people that are going to eliminate themselves, that are willing to do it. And then you're like, all right, the next game is eliminate yourself. Then it's like, well, you've already selected all the people that are going to do that. Everyone that's left is like wanting to compete. The audience, I feel like it's more entertaining for the audience to see them compete, right? Instead of just watching them eliminate themselves over and over and over again. But, at the same time, I'm not like an expert in TV show production. I'm not like you know, I wouldn't know how to create perfectly balanced games for a TV show or anything like that. I just feel like they could have been more entertaining. And I am a fan of Survivor, so maybe I'm a little bit biased in this, but I feel like some more like Survivor style games where you have just like you have something that you're trying to bring to the other end of the arena, and you're falling off balance, and like the first 100 people that get there out of 150 move on and the rest are eliminated. And then you show some of the people that you've been following get eliminated every challenge, and that makes people like it. People like to see people they care about. Another thing that kind of like bothered me about this show is how, like, every single person, as soon as they would get out for the first like 10 episodes, 10 episodes, the whole thing's only 10 episodes, for the first like 3 or 4 episodes for sure, would just like immediately start sobbing. Like, there's still like basically like, there could be 600 people left in the game, and they're just sobbing, 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 almost like they were so close to the end. It's very interesting how people think, because like, I don't know, man. I don't think I would cry if I were eliminated from a game show. Like, genuine, like, no hate to people either. Like, it's probably a very real reaction and whatever, and good for them for showing it to the world. But you know, that's just something I personally do not relate to. So I think it's funny. I think it's funny for sure. And the funniest thing about it is like people in the later episodes, you just have some random person in the early episodes that like they literally you've seen them for 2 seconds. They're not even close to the finish line at all. And they're just in a full on breakdown sobbing about how they needed that money, that it was their $1 million to take, and they just, they couldn't do it. And they show all these, crying and breakdowns and whatever. And then the people that did eliminate it towards the end of the game, they're just like, oh, all right, okay. It's also funny because, in a similar fashion to what I was saying before, like, it, the people that eliminate themselves at the beginning, they do so like with such like emotional stress. Like they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm eliminating myself so you can continue onward. Like you have to go onward. You have to do this thing. You have to." Like their teammates are like crying, like, "I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you." And then there's a part where like basically 4 and 5 of the people that are left, not of the total contestants, but of the people that are left in this part, it's a substantial number of people have to eliminate themselves so that one member of their team can go on. And they all just instantly decide, and they're all just like, here you go. The thing that I think was good about the show is that it did like it was a very interesting insight into human nature and how people think about things. Like it's almost like it's easier to choose, to eliminate. You're functionally doing the same thing, right? You either choose to stay behind or you choose someone else to go forward. Either way, you're being eliminated, they're going on. It's functionally the exact same choice. Yet one was like made so much easier. Like when they see it as like I'm doing this so that other people can move on, it's like instantaneous that they're just like, all right, I'll stay behind. You got to go forward. Where it's like, if you frame it as you got to choose to eliminate yourself or not, they're like, heck no, I am fighting for my life. It is very interesting because there were people that, you know, it's so funny how people think. I don't want to get into spoilers, but I'll just say this. There was a character that like was extremely, extremely, furious, basically, with another character for what he perceived to be awful, awful behavior. And that behavior in question was like that guy making friends, basically. And the very next episode, I won't say who it is, he like stole $650,000 of the money that they were going to like. You could either split it with the rest of the contestants or steal it for yourself. And all of the contestants up to that point were choosing like, okay, I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna share it. The guy before him stole like some of it, but most of the people were like, oh, this is a great amount of money either way. I'm just gonna share it. And he just immediately gets in there and he steals it. And it's like, okay, if you're gonna play the game that way, like, fine, it's just a game, right? Like at the end of the day, it's just a game. I don't think anyone's like entitled to that money. So honestly, if you steal it, like good for you. Like you just made a bunch of money. But why would you be so mad at the other guy and like be like, you're so immoral, you're so evil, you're the scum of the earth, basically, is what he was saying. And then immediately turn around and do that. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like human beings are so funny, man. So I thought the show was very, it was very interesting for sure. I think season two will probably fix a lot of the problems. I do think that like it's funny because with inflation, to be honest, this is probably just like the level that game shows used to be at. Like $1 million probably used to be about, $5 million in terms of buying power. Maybe the CPI doesn't say that, but like realistically, I think that's probably somewhat accurate, at least when Survivor first started running. And that show still just gives away $1 million. Like I don't know how they do it because I mean, $1 million is a lot of money. I don't have anywhere close to $1 million. I am a broke college student, but it just doesn't hit the same when you can, like houses are $1 million. Like you could win Survivor and like not even buy a house with the money, like they really need to raise the amount of money for that show. So I do appreciate that about Beast Games is like he did not cheap out, he did not slim down like really at any point. It was always, high production, which, it's Mr. Beast. Of course it's going to be that way. That's like his passion is like, making insane things reality, right? So I don't know. I'm not a hater of the show. I just feel like they'll probably, there's a lot to improve on going forward. That being said, I think I will watch season two when it comes out, whenever that is. I'm guessing probably next year, but they probably have to like reevaluate their budget. To be honest, I there is a moment in the show where he mentions that they were like way over budget, and I 100% believe it. I mean, they doubled they doubled the prize pool in like the last episode. Like, how do you do that? You just, you don't even advertise that the show is going to give away $10 million. You're giving away $5 million. That's how you announce it. That's how you advertise it. That's how you get people to watch. And then you actually like that is good show making where you have high expectations and then you exceed it, right? So like everything about the prizes, everything about that was like they really went above and beyond in terms of that aspect. So it was entertaining. It did give me a little bit of like, have you guys seen the analyses on uh how movies have changed over time to where they used to have like long scenes and long, not even scenes, like cuts where it would show someone talking for multiple seconds, and now it's like rarely over 1 second. As I was watching this show, I was like getting a headache because of how frequent the cuts are. I mean, it would go from person to person to person. And like my wife and I, we were like counting it as it was going. We'd go one, one, one. And every single time we would say it, it would cut to a totally, totally different and new view of the entire situation. It's just so you can't help but feel like it's a little bit of brain rot involved in that. How people's attention spans are so short that they can't sit down and watch a movie. Which, to be fair, like is kind of me too. Like even movies that I really like, that I know I like. Sometimes I sit down to watch it and I'm like, oh man, I could be browsing. I could be browsing so many reels right now. Like how depressing is that really? Because like a movie is probably intrinsically more satisfying to watch than watching a reel. But there's one thing that it's kind of just like maximizing the benefit to your psychology instead of like to what you you know, actually enjoy. Oh, that's super. I didn't realize that I could jump from fence to fence. It's very nice because I must be 1.5 blocks up, which means it's only 1 block. That'll actually make it much easier to do this. But anyway, I was also thinking, um, actually, no, this is not what I was thinking about Beast Games. This is what I was just barely thinking as I was talking about reels. I feel like, in some ways, video games, like me sitting down to play Minecraft for 30 minutes to an hour, a day, sometimes 20, sometimes 10, but typically between, I would say, 30 minutes to an hour every day. You know, there's some ways in which that is a ginormous waste of time, but we waste a lot of time in society. And genuinely, I would so much rather play video games than scroll social media. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, I feel like it's not like I get a ton out of it, but I feel like my brain is more engaged. I don't just go like to slack jawed autopilot, just blah, clicking, whatever. Just because, I don't know. I feel better about playing video games than I do about scrolling Instagram for an hour. I would so much rather spend an hour in Minecraft, or like last year, for example, when Tears of the Kingdom came out. I downloaded it and I put over 70 hours into that game over the course of months, right? But I spent a lot of time in it. I played it when I could have been doing other more productive things. But at the same time, I had deleted all social media from my phone during that time. I have it again now. I wish I didn't. I just keep downloading it, man. Like I'm like, addicted. I know it's not good for me yet. I still have it. So I had deleted all social media from my phone. So I genuinely, like, I don't feel bad about it because I feel like it's not nearly, as bad, not to justify behavior because there's worse behaviors that I could be doing, but like the time that I saved from like just doing essentially nothing, like I would way rather play, some Zelda and feel, kind of a sense of satisfaction and progression than feel, feel just I feel depressed when I go on social media, man. Like it doesn't it doesn't provide a lot of benefit for me, if I'm being completely honest. And I feel like you know, it's just it's not my favorite thing. It's not my favorite thing for sure. Um, that being said, I feel like YouTube is a pretty good social media. I don't know if it's considered a social media technically. I mean, I think technically it is, but like in the minds of a lot of people, YouTube is different than social media. I don't know. If we consider YouTube a social media, I think it's one of the best ones because you can learn a lot. There's YouTube videos that like actually tickle the part of my brain that is like interesting to me, instead of just like base level rapid entertainment. Now I'm not saying there's not like, brain rot for lack of a better word on YouTube because there definitely is. And to be honest, I used to really like Mr. Beast, but the older I get, the more I realize he's kind of one of the biggest uh, offenders of that. The frequent cuts just being like one example, but like so many examples where it's just maximized to bleed your attention. But I feel like YouTube is quite a bit better than other social medias in that regard. I feel like it's the type of thing that I can also, watch while I'm. Nope, nope, nope. No, my fences. Well, at least I lived. At least I survived. I might go back to my house and call it a night and patch that creeper hole in the morning because I think I'm getting about to the end of this video. But thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for your comments of support. What did you guys think about Beast Games? What do you guys think about video games versus social media? And thank you. I hope you guys have a great day.